Oh, Marvel! I'm respecting your privacy by knocking, but I'm asserting my authority as a fan by coming in anyway. Welcome, my seedlings. I'm not even gonna talk about this because there is a lot to talk about, and if I did, this video would be like 2 hours long, and I don't want that to happen, so I'm rewriting Eternals because I didn't like that movie. It wasn't fun. It wasn't a watchable experience for me. Yeah. It wasn't a watchable experience, mainly because of how many characters they put in the movie. Like, I can't remember some of their names. Like, I know there's, like, Icarus and Cersei and stuff, but then there was also the fast one I can't remember the name of. I know they're fast and they're deaf. And then there was so Eternals has a problem with the amount of people in the movie. Don't worry, this rewrite will remedy that. So I shortened the cast to the 4 main Eternals that actually matter to the plot, which are Athena, Icarus, What's-Her-Face, and Cersei. I know other Eternals have relevance to the plot, but I'm just keeping it these 4 to keep everything in, like, easier to write instead of having to deal with, like, 12 characters. It's just going to be a lot easier with 4 of them than with 12 of them. And it also works better for my narrative that I've come up with. Also, these guys, I made some changes to how their powers work that will affect the plot, so I'm just gonna list them down right here. 1, Athena is a battle strategy goddess, like they actually were in the mythology, so they're mainly the brains of the group, and they come up with strategies instead of just fight, blood fight. And then there's Icarus. I changed their power so that they don't have their laser eyes anymore, that they can just fly. But, like, and their wings are made of wax, so they have to be careful how high they fly, how low they fly, because if anyone ever read the myth, they should know that if Icarus flies too low, then, like, the wings are gonna break, but if he flies too high, the wings are gonna break. So he has to be very careful on where he flies, but he can fly. Then there's Cersei. I changed their power so that they just make potions, because that's what they do in the myth. They turn sailors into pigs with wine, so they make potions now. That's their thing. And then there's Hephaestus. I kept their powers mostly the same. They can create any technology they want, but they have to do it in a very specific forge somewhere with a very specific hammer they have, so they have to, like, make it themselves instead of just kind of making it. So there's some limitations on that power, but I think it overall works for the plot. So now that I've described all the Eternals and their powers, let's get into the rewrite. Yay! The movie begins in ancient Greece, 480 BC. Zeus and the Greek gods have defeated the Titans, and Zeus is quickly contacted by a celestial, specifically Arishem. Arishem tells Zeus to make more gods to protect Earth. Zeus asks why, and it cuts away to modern-day Greece, 2022. Cersei is teaching children about ancient Greek history. She mentions that while Zeus is known for being the greatest king of the gods after he slayed most of the monsters, he created heroes to slay them for him. Zeus left Earth to Omnipotent City, where Earth has never seen him again. Over time, each of the gods slowly grew out of the hero business due to boredom, so only 4 gods and immortal heroes decided to keep protecting humanity. These 4 gods are called the Eternals. packing up and gets ready to leave her job when she hears screaming from outside her classroom. She quickly brings her bag to investigate and sees that a deviant is attacking the city. Confused, she puts on her costume and fights the deviant, quickly brewing and throwing explosive potions at it. Soon she gets a few in its mouth, and the thing swallows them and explodes. Cersei then flees the scene. A shield appears to examine the situation. Cersei contacts someone on her phone, just labeled as her emergency friend. She tells said emergency friend while walking toward her apartment that they're back, meet me in Athens by Thursday. She puts away her phone and heads to her apartment and buys an airplane ticket and flies to Athens. It quickly cuts to Icarus and Hephaestus fighting another deviant in Lesbos. Icarus keeps distracting it so Hephaestus can get hits in it with his hammer. After a while, the two take it down. Afterwards, they have some banter about how Icarus is slower than how he was when they last fought. Icarus says that was 400 years ago and that he had to fly lower than he'd like during the fight, and that was impacting his wings. They quickly leave as S.H.I.E.L.D. agents come in and load the body onto a truck to take to their headquarters. Icarus gets a notification on his phone and he calls Cersei. They're back. Meet me in Athens by Thursday. You think I haven't noticed? I just took one down single-handedly. Hephaestus gives Icarus a look and swipes the phone. We'll get tickets, or I'll have this one fly me here. Icarus laughs and quickly flees the scene. The two buy airline tickets and enter Athens. They leave the airport and Cersei and Athena are waiting for them. They all stay at Athena's house and contemplate what the return of the deviants means for all of them, and sooner or later they go to bed. While Cersei is sleeping, Cersei has a dream where she talks to Arishem. Arishem says that he has chosen Cersei as the new leader of Eternals because the deviants are coming back and they'll stop humans from evolving, and that the blip brought back half of Earth and the Eternals because all of them got blipped so they couldn't show up in Endgame. So the emergence is going to happen in a few days. Cersei asks what the emergence is, and the Celestial gives her exposition that it's when the intelligent life population of a planet reaches a certain amount, a Celestial gets birthed from the core of the planet, killing everything on it. Cersei wakes up and tells everyone else about the dream. Athena asks how they can kill the Celestial. Everyone is thinking of ideas, and it takes them roughly a day of walking around in Athens to workshop an idea. And towards the end of the day, Athena comes up with building a thing that could amplify one member of the group's powers to kill the Celestial. Athena volunteers Cersei because of her potion skills, so an amplified version of her powers could allow her to brew a potion so potent that she could kill a Celestial. Cersei is terrified but agrees. Icarus remarks that they shouldn't kill the Celestial after it's the reason for their immortality and existence. Athena says that it's necessary to save the planet and everything on it, which was their purpose. Icarus says that their purpose was given to them by Zeus, who was given that idea by the Celestials. Cersei tries to calm this conversation down, but Icarus grabs his wings and leaves. So they all ask Hephaestus where his forge is so they could start making the machine. He says it's somewhere near Lycia. I really hope I pronounced that right. Then the group quickly heads there, and they find the forge inside his temple. Hephaestus grabs a large piece of metal and his giant hammer and quickly begins on his project. It takes him a long time. The group get tired, but deviants are storming the temple, so they each have to fight them while trying to make as little collateral damage as possible and keeping the deviants away from Hephaestus as much as they can. After the fight, the group doesn't know if hours or days have passed, but Hephaestus is finally finished. He gives the orb back to Cersei, and just before he could tell her how to activate it, the door gets kicked open and the rest of the Greek pantheon enters. Hermes steps forward and tells everyone that someone big is breaking through the center of the earth, and that he's been gathering all of the Greek pantheon to stop it. Hephaestus says he knows, and they hug. Hermes takes them all to the site of the emergence, but there are a lot of deviants, so the rest of the pantheon begins fighting the deviants while Cersei runs towards the emerging Celestial. It cuts to Athena plowing through deviants with the help of Ares. Athena remarks that it's good to have the gang back together, but Hephaestus tells her to do more fighting and less quips. While Hermes and Apollo are doing as many quips and puns as they can, much to Artemis and Hera's dismay. Cersei keeps running, but the ground beneath her shakes, knocking her to the ground as the Celestial's hand rises out of the earth. Cersei fiddles with the orb to try and turn it on, but Icarus flies in and knocks her aside, causing the orb to fall away from her grasp. She asks why he'd do this and how Earth is going to be destroyed. Icarus says that was their purpose and proceeds to fight Cersei. Back to everyone, not even all of their powers combined can stop the onslaught of deviants, causing everyone to start getting overwhelmed. Cut back to Icarus and Cersei fighting on top of the Celestial's hand. Cersei's trying to throw sleeping potions at Icarus, but Icarus keeps dodging them in the nick of time. Icarus tells her that she's on the wrong side of history, and letting the Celestial die would cause the universe to suffer. Cersei soon realizes that all hope is lost, but she has one last gamble. She sees Icarus's wings melting slightly from flying too high, and she tosses a potion at his legs, intentionally missing him, so he dodges by flying upwards. Cersei says she's sorry as Icarus's wings melt and he falls. Cersei begins to look for the orb, overturning stones and tossing around rubble. She eventually finds it. She holds the orb up. Hephaestus tells her that to activate it, she has to press a button, but when her powers get amplified, everyone else's powers will fade and they'll be easier to kill. Cersei understands and presses the button, causing her powers to get stronger. She quickly messes around with the ingredients in her pockets and puts them together in a bottle. She grinds them up into liquid, adds some more ingredients lying around on the Celestial's hand, mixes it all together in a bottle. She quickly says to herself that this better work, and she smashes the bottle onto the Celestial hand. Quickly, the large Celestial turns to stone. Each of the lights flicker in its eyes and die out. She looks over the edge and sees that all the Eternals have hidden in a nearby cave to escape the Deviants. They're all alive, and Cersei turns the machine off, and the rest of the Eternals finish off the Deviants. It cuts to a month later. They're all having a funeral for Icarus. Each of them say a few words, and after the event, Arishem comes by and kidnaps half the Pantheon, which are Cersei, Hephaestus, and Eros, to put on trial for murder of what is essentially a newborn Celestial, and that's the end of Eternals. That video was fun to make. It took a long time to make it, and I'm glad it's finally done. I really hope you all enjoy the video. So yeah, the Monster High redesign, it's coming, don't worry. So yeah, that was fun to make. I finally had some motivation to finish it after like 2 weeks. So yeah.